Surveys show electing LGBTQ plus people to local office is key to saving LGBTQ plus rights. During elections, people tend to focus on top-of-the-ballot races, including those for the U.S. Senate, the House, or governorships. But in a political era marked by an onslaught of ferocious attacks against the LGBTQ plus community, reproductive rights, and fact-based education, many people are taking a second look at down-ballot races as a way to make an immediate local impact on the political landscape. The consequences of a lack of engagement in state and local politics are very clear. On the state house level, legislation targeting LGBTQ plus inclusion in curricula, trans girls in sports, and abortion rights has attracted national attention. But on the local level, a school board can set curricula, election oversight staff can promote election denial, and a city council can place strict limits on where unhoused people are allowed to live. Sean Malloy, Vice President of Political Programs at Victory Fund, an organization working to elect LGBTQ plus candidates, says, quote, local races can be easier to win than people think. They cost far less, decreasing barriers to entry, and can pay off in big ways. The same school board that suppresses LGBTQ plus books, for example, can become one that promotes an inclusive curriculum and pushes back on conservative activist groups such as Moms for Liberty, end quote. Well, I went to a political event like last week sometime, Thursday, and it was for all the Democratic local people for Miami in my district. And I was, there was three queer people. And I was like, definitely voting for you. I mean, I'm definitely voting blue on anything, you know, but it was very nice to see. And it felt like they would definitely, you know, hold us, you know, defend our rights a little bit more.
Jeff, you are the chairman for the National Task Force Dinner. Its principal goal is advocacy and propelling the political rights of LGBT. What do you think about this? That it's local, that it sits on the local.
Actually, one of the focuses the task force took in this election season was working on some school board elections on the west coast of Florida in smaller counties. So where we've talked about, you know, we have a lot of great organizations here like SAVE and Equality Florida, of course, that are helping on some of the national. They made a conscious effort to focus on some of these down ballot races because of the importance, and we're seeing it in Florida with Don't Say Gay, of course, and what school boards can do to communities, to children. So they really made a conscious effort to go in and to help, again, where they don't have a Pride Center, they don't have a Wilton Manors downtown community to organize, you know, queer people, LGBTQ youth, to help rally them to help with these local elections that don't get a lot of attention, but they have the biggest impact on our lives.
I think we just do a bad job overall when it comes to politics and educating our youth and having them understand the difference that they can make on the local level. They just think of it as the nationals setting the stage, when in all fairness, it isn't. It's the local community setting the stage of what they find acceptable in their backyard. And if we don't stand up and if we don't run for office, and like it said in this article, it's not that hard to enter local politics. The barriers are much lower. You don't have to fundraise like you have to for a national position. So it's one of those things everyone needs to in some way be engaged. And if we can find people in our community willing to run for some of these positions, you know, we can control, at least in our own backyard, what happens. And I think there was something I read earlier today that in many states, people go uncontested or no one chooses to run for a position. And then it's left up to the government basically to appoint somebody that they want because no one ran for that job.
This week I interviewed, there's a new documentary coming out. It's going to premiere November 5th at the Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival, and it's called The Halls of Power. And it's a documentary about focusing principally on Elijah Manning, the 23-year-old that ran for State House in this election. Black and queer and young, 23, a Gen Zer. And in the interview, it was really clear of talking about what kind of interaction that he got, of the problems he had being young, strike one, the problems that he had being black, strike two, the problems he had being queer, strike three, and how he fought that through. But one of the most shocking things that he said to me in the interview, which is what you just talked about, how did LGBT respond to you and embrace you? And were you satisfied? And overwhelmingly, the attitude and observation is, Al, it just didn't happen. And that was really sad to me because that is a bellwether. That is the canary in the mine of saying what may be ahead for us on November 8th. I'm growing in my concern. We are this close. These state house races are districts that there's only 20 or 25, 30,000 votes in some instances. So they're relatively small in their ability to get to the state house. The Republicans are on the verge of supermajority in Florida. And if they take the House and the Senate in supermajority, they're going to do whatever they want, period, without any risk of a governor's override. So as a result, Charlie Crist is so incredibly important to us as LGBT. He's beyond important because he is literally the firewall to fight what's going to happen next in the State House. And I just don't see us really frothing at the mouth of our desire to ensure that that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to just add on to what Glenn said. I don't think we do a good job of educating adults. You said you went to an event for people that are in your district.
Yeah, for the first time in my life at 35.
Yes, I'm assuming you live in Janelle Perez's district.
Yeah.
If you watch television, she's being attacked with terrible commercials.
Horrible,
and
yeah.
She's an
We talked
amazing
about that,
candidate.
yeah.
Do I see people here in Broward that are LGBTQ saying, we need to go help Janelle Perez? I know friends of mine went to help Carlos Guillermo Smith. They went to Orlando this past weekend to help on his campaign. Why? Because we need to help support LGBTQ candidates, whether you live in their district or not.
Yeah.
And one final note, we've got to go on to Glenn, but one final note, a lot of my friends suggest when I talk about this, of ringing the bell, this canary in the coal mine, they go, oh, come on now, you're taking this too far and you're too myopic on it, etc. And then I turn and point, well, wait, let me provide you a real life example of the story that you just did in the local level. In fall of 2021, Miami-Dade County decided in a 7-1 vote that we are going to recognize LGBT History Month in the largest school district in Florida and one of the top 5 largest school districts in America. 7-1. There was no controversy at all. 12 months later, although it violated no laws, there was no issues that were going to come from the governor in his blustering threats. They move in terms of getting the kinds of supports happening in Broward County too, but in Dade County, and the vote completely flips in exactly the opposite direction. 7-1, we won't recognize LGBT History Month in Miami-Dade County schools. Is local elections, local involvements, school boards important? For LGBT, our life lives there. And there's going to be thousands and thousands of students right now in Miami-Dade County that are queer, that have denial of even acknowledging their existence. Not only because of Don't Say Gay on the state level, but because of Miami-Dade County on the local level in their own school board. And I don't see where the LGBTQ community is frothing at the mouth at what we're watching. Canary in the coal mine. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.